All right, Nick, before we get started with the actual show, I need your take on the most important thing that's hit honestly, I would say media, gameplay, video game stuff. What are your thoughts on the new Super Mario Brothers movie trailer that dropped?
I think Italiaphobia has gotten out of control. Is what I think is happening.
Okay.
I think.
So, have you seen it? Have you seen it, Nick?
I haven't watched the thing, which is kind of like blasphemous because I grew up like loving Mario. I mean, I wasn't like obsessed or anything. I didn't really like replay it all the time or anything like that. But like, I definitely loved Mario growing up. So the fact that I like gave a cursory listen to the voice and was like, that's not a good voice, and then just turned it off.
Okay.
That's my take. That's the extent of my take.
Can you give me a better "It's a me Mario" than what Chris Pratt does in the
It's a me, Mario.
Hello and welcome to the Year We Started podcast. It's a podcast born Phoenix Life.
I'm not allowed to do accents. You have to cut that. I'm literally not allowed. It's in the bylaws. It's in
man.
It's in the rules. You can't do accents.
I'm kicking back, knuckling up. I am your co-host, Jeff.
I'm Nick, I think. I'm somebody.
And this, Nick, is our podcast. We're coming here with energy, and we're a couple of friends, a couple of continents apart. They'd like to come.
We're a couple of continents apart. Did you move?
Yeah, couple continents apart. Look, we'll get into it. Talk about some of the things that are fun and interesting to us, Nick. So my misspeakings will probably be plentiful. I am
making me feel bad about it.
Yeah. Way to beat up on the sick kid. So, Nick, we started this whole podcast in the like daunting, dark part, like in the shadows in the alley of a COVID-19 pandemic. And our whole thing was we're not going to talk about all the bummer bull crap that the whole world wants to talk about. And you know what? Both of us, we did a really good job at not getting the cool on brand sick that is COVID-19. Mm-hmm, but Nick, I did it.
One of us.
I found it. I found it.
I'm proud of you, son.
I feel terrible. It's been rough stuff, man. I do not recommend honestly, the weirdest thing. I felt sick the day that I tested positive. I'll skip a lot of the backstory. It's kind of bummer and sad and etc. It was just mostly a bummer situation, like the 2 days leading up to it. But then I got it, and like I was kind of prepared. Like Katie tested positive ahead of time, so I knew it was probably in my future, and we had basically made arrangements to know what was going to go down. And then I got it, and I felt so sick. Like as the day went on,
I know.
Like at first it was like, oh man, it's like I think I even texted you and Jen. Like, I just take some ibuprofen and then the headache is gone. And then it's like, oh man, if I'm 5 minutes late on an ibuprofen, acetaminophen like rotation, like I'm gonna die. That's kind of where I was at. And so that was pretty rough. But literally as I was saying that sentence right there, the weirdest thing is, I mean, I'm a pretty forgetful person as it is. I have people talk about COVID fog. I have a really hard time completing sentences. So this should be a really interesting experience.
This will be a really good one for me. I'll enjoy it a lot. And I will probably come off as a very, very well-spoken, composed, and sophisticated man. Just really well thought out. You know what I mean? I just say like that I as a man am well thought out, which is not a sensible statement, but don't worry about it because I'm gonna have be graded on a curve today.
Okay, let's elaborate. So you as a man are very thought out.
I'm well thought out. Yeah. Somebody designed me with a lot in mind, and mostly cynicism and a propensity for chips.
Did you say you just say a propensity for chips, like
eating
the
chips.
Food,
like
eating
you have to eat a lot of chips, otherwise don't function well. And by don't function well, I mean honestly, I don't have like a problem when I don't eat chips. I just am dumb and I'm like, oh, there's chips. I should eat all these. I should just have a lot of these.
Yeah, a predicate for functioning well, chips. That is one of the stats that you rolled. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, that's fair. Anyways, it's okay, but it does suck really bad, and I see why it can be a global problem. Because me and my wife are young 30s, and it has not been pleasant.
Yeah,
I can only imagine if we had any other problems. Because, like, here's the thing, is, like, I've never tried so hard to not get sick when I knew that sick was here. Because, like, Katie stopped feeling good. She tested positive. And, like, we went into, like, crazy prepper mode level of quarantine. And, like, the whole time, though, I'm like, like, I read all these
probably
things.
already
like,
done.
It's probably too late. And I'm like, I was texting you guys. I'm like, I maybe just immune. Like, I just dodged it for the 100th time. And then I felt really tired. And I took a nap in the middle of the day before, which is not typically what I do. And then I woke up and I did, just normal things. And then I went to bed at a little bit later than normal, but not too crazy. Then woke up the next day and I felt like I was going to die. I'm like, well, turns out that was never not going to happen. And
yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, not going to talk about COVID stories. At this point, like 80% or something like that crazy has had COVID. So I'm just speaking to the masses.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
I don't know what the actual number is, but it's crazy high.
I try not to inundate myself with that kind of information because it's like, I don't even know what do I do with that? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't help me to know that. Like, I don't know. But I do feel for you, sir. I'm sorry. And you're totally right. Not most everybody. Apparently 80% people have had it. So, like, it's pretty nuts. We all understand the experience at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, not me. I'm perfect and never get sick. Ever.
And I'm very proud of you and your mountain biking escapades and whatever else you do.
I do other things.
You California people. Okay, so real quick, before, because like Nick, we mentioned before. We talked about, this is great. I love having a podcast where I don't really know where I'm going before the sentence ends. This is a very fun experience. So before we started recording, is what I meant to say. Before we started recording, we talked about how maybe our actual topic that I want to talk about, not super prepared, but also something that I think that we could talk about for a long time. But before we do, you recommended me a book. Did you actually recommend this to me on the podcast?
I'm pretty dang sure, yes.
Okay. It seems likely. So it's Shadeslinger is the book that you recommended to me.
Yeah.
And it is not the sort of book that I would typically read, but...
It's not the sort of book I would typically read or recommend, honestly.
Well, why did you recommend it, Nicholas?
Well, because it is just a super fun, lighthearted book that is a very good time, and for you and me, it is totally a love letter to a genre of video games called MMOs. It is like absolutely a person who loved MMOs, just having fun with like the idea of a fun one and just having fun with all the cool things that you get when you're playing an MMO. So yeah.
So Nick, here's a problem. The book that you recommended to me is a part of a series, and I did not know that when I started this, or I did not internalize that when I started this.
Someone didn't listen to me.
I probably had COVID or something. Okay, so this is I didn't look into it once I saw at the bottom of my Audible that it said book number 1. How many books have you gotten me into, you jerk?
It's 3, and he hasn't put a limit on how many it's going to be, but he doesn't think it's going to be more than like 5.
Have you read all 3?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, okay.
I listened to the third one like almost instantly when it came out. I was like, yeah, I got to do this. Sounds great.
So I am in chapter 21, which I think is around a little bit past halfway, maybe, I don't know, somewhere around there. So book 1, book 2, book 3, tell me, am I getting into something that I'm going to get more attached to or less attached to? Like, where's the sweet spot for this series?
I think 3 was easily the best.
Really?
So yeah, like I thought I thought 1 and 2 were like very similarly fun, and I don't know if I really had a preference for one or the other, but I thought 3 was definitely
okay. I'm gonna ask a question that is a little bit spoilery, perhaps,
but
I do want to know, like, just a yes no. You don't have to tell anything else other than that. So I'm in book 1, and right now he's the only one that is in the game right now of any consequence. Does the actual thing start in this book, or is that a book 2 thing?
What do you mean the actual thing?
People start playing.
Yes. I actually expect that you're there with that. You're coming up on that relatively soon.
Okay,
and I think
it feels like I am. I didn't know if that was actually going to be a thing, or if this drags out and then cuts off, and then that's a book 2 thing.
So, yes, it is absolutely it happens absolutely this book. And what I was gonna say is, like, my biggest like critique. I mean, it's like critiquing a sitcom TV show that you enjoy a lot. It's like, is it a critique? Do you even really care enough to call it a critique? Is it a big deal? But my critique would be that a lot of the book is just these two characters riffing, right? It's like a lot of just this little buddy dynamic thing that they got going on, like not buddy cop, but buddy cop dynamic that they have going on, and that's awesome and super fun, and it works. But the book gets better when they add more people into that. The series gets better as they add more people into it, which they will do soon. And it gets, I think the third book has the most of that, and it has the most of like, I don't know, like character development-ish, I guess, and like relationship development for the characters. And I like a lot, the series doesn't take itself too seriously at any point. Like, it doesn't turn into, and then the video game became the consequences of the whole world. The winner was going to save the world, or anything of the sort. So, which I think is like a very easy trope for all, media to fall into. It's just like ramping up consequences unnecessarily.
That was very much the Ready Player One strategy for storytelling.
100%.
To ramp that up to be, everything.
It's like, here's a fun video game. Here's a fun VR idea. Wouldn't it be crazy if we lived in a world like that? Anyways, and also, what if the VR video game had the consequences of society?
And whoever wins is the richest person on the planet.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you what. So, not my thing, but more so than the other book that you had me read, which was, what was the name of the...
Ruination.
That one was more, honestly, what I would describe them as, that was more of a book that my wife would enjoy as far as like just fantasy and like the actual story. And this is much more, like you said, a love letter to a genre of video game.
Yes.
That like, honestly, so far, the entire story is like, I would give a D- on.
Yeah, like, it just doesn't matter.
But because of the same stupid tricks that the video game genre that is MMO, like, I want to keep grinding forward because I think that it's going to pay off. It's a very interesting thing. Anyways, thank you for the recommendation.
You're welcome. And I agree with you. And like, I think it's I don't know if worth saying or what I'm trying to get, but like, it's funny to me how little, like, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, I don't really care that the story isn't good. I like, not the story, the video game's story isn't good, right? But like, the story of just like the guy having fun in the video game is fine and good, and I like it. So yeah.
All right, Nick. We have lots of time to talk about this, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. We've chatted about it a little bit off and on, even including a text message that you sent me earlier today or yesterday. It's hard to keep track these days. Nick, I want to talk to you about Patrick LeVon Mahomes II for the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I've heard of him once or twice.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about him and also Mr. Stephen Curry, and then a little bit of comparison of the two, and I just want to get your thoughts on some stuff because it's thoughts that I've had, and I'm gonna have to do some good editing because I have a few things I want to show you. But my premise or my thesis, I don't know what to label this as. Scroll up, you stupid thing. There you go. I guess where I would state this is I think that Pat Mahomes and Steph Curry are criminally underrated or overlooked as like absolute game-changing legends in the modern NFL and NBA. Not to say that they're not like heralded as very, very good, but I think that their impact on the sport is like, it gets old to say like, oh man, they are doing things that nobody else can do or has done. Like, you can only say that so many times on, on cable television or whatever. But I don't think that we should understate how much of an outlier they are. Like, just from, even if you take away all the stats and everything else, just from an entertainment value, like, they are things that we may never see again.
Yes.
And I do not want that to be wasted on us. But before I dive into any of the actual like similarities or any other things I want to show you, what is your general thoughts on that? Both on the NBA side and also from the more casual observer, outside observer on the NFL side of that.
So the NFL side is hard because I don't have like a broad, like holistic knowledge of the NFL to like really, you know what I mean? To really like understand how many quarterbacks and players have done similar things. From my perspective, it's just like, oh, I watch Pat Mahomes and I watch the Chiefs when we talk about it or in the playoffs, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy is everywhere. He runs everywhere. And he just wins games, basically all his own, right? So basically just that is my thought. And from what I could tell, yeah. And also, yeah, like so I told you last time we talked about Bill Russell that I didn't have a strong enough opinion, perspective, whatever, on how do I put it? On every player's ranking, and I know that sounded like a cop out at the time, and I didn't want to like belabor the point because we were talking about it about other stuff. But what I meant with that is that like if you want to like dig deep on like a specific player's specific ranking in basketball, and I'm sure this is similar if you're doing this in football, especially if you're like even if you're just narrowing down to things like best quarterbacks ever, but I feel like you need to really do work and possibly have a system for how you're doing that, for how you're evaluating. And I can tell you that like I haven't done that, or I haven't done that. I don't have as nearly as strong of an understanding of like Kevin Garnett, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, Kareem as I do of like Kobe and LeBron because they played while I watched, right? And so I don't have a number or anything, but I can tell you that Steph belongs in that top 10 conversation, and he's the first guy since LeBron that really does, like more than, I think that Steph's gonna like pretty unanimously be considered better than KD when all things are said and done. I'm not positive on that. I don't really have a grasp of everybody else's worldview on this stuff, but like it is really apparent to me that that's the case. Like I would, if I'm thinking back on both of them, I think of Steph more like having more seasons and possibly higher level seasons. And on top of that, even if you count KD as better than him or think they're in the same stratosphere, I don't think that he gets talked about that way. I don't think that to your point earlier, that like I don't think people realize that like, yeah, we're having one of those guys again, guys. Like we're having like, okay, maybe he's not Jordan or LeBron. I don't think that anyone's going to think of him as the best player of all time. But like we've got like a Magic or a Larry Bird or a Shaq or a Kobe right here in front of us, and I don't think people talk about him that way.
Yeah, and I guess where I want to like reframe the conversation that we're about to have, I don't necessarily want to paint all of this as like this is where he belongs
You're talking also about like changing the sport and entertainment, right?
Yeah, I want to specifically what did he do to the sport and how ridiculous of a player he is to watch compared to Pierre, because like I mean he people in grade school are jacking up threes because of Steph Curry,
right? So to your point, like both an amateur and a pro level, he's changed the game more than LeBron, Kobe, Duncan, Garnett, any of the greats of my time, right? KD included in that, KD, Giannis included in that, like. He's just changed the game more than anyone since, I don't know, I'm sure Shaq had an element of that, just like in terms of like, oh, you just had to guard him so weirdly and everything.
I genuinely don't think so, because Shaq was huge and not everybody is huge, but anybody can shoot a three from way too far out. They can certainly try.
He changed broad trends. Like sometime I'll show you a chart of like 3-point shots taken per game for NBA teams. But you're totally right. Like, I mean, from kids in a playground to high school players to and the NBA, the game is fundamentally different because of Steph Curry, right?
So I think one of the cool things about both Steph and Mahomes is that neither one of them were like the number one prospect coming out of college. So off the top, do you know where Steph got picked? If you had to guess. No pressure.
It's like
no
7
pressure.
to 9. I think it's 8.
Oh, you're a one-off. It's 7.
It's 7.
It's 7.
I know. I think Johnny Flynn went ahead of him, who's also a point guard.
You're 100% correct.
Which is hilarious. It's a very good job.
Yeah. So before him, it was Blake Griffin. Fair enough, especially coming out of college. I'm just gonna skip a little out. So there's James Harden.
Third, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you got Ricky Rubio.
Rubio was hot stuff coming into the NBA.
Yeah, so like there's some good players that came before him, but like a respectable 7th pick, but not like.
But safe to say underrated. Safe to say possibly underrated.
Well, like I mean,
do you think the Timberwolves would have preferred a slightly different point guard?
Perhaps they would have. But yeah, I mean, he was a very non-traditional point guard coming out of Davidson, like a relatively small school doing stuff that was, I mean, not the normal thing you would expect a point guard to do, shooting way, way, way too far outside the perimeter and honestly was way undersized and looked like he would get pushed around in a modern NBA like that.
Yeah,
at least 100%. From I remember watching him play in March Madness in a bar back in 2008. Like I remember him. Like it was an interesting thing, but it definitely didn't feel like, oh man, this guy is going to change the NBA.
Right.
Do you know anything about the 2017 NFL draft, sir?
I know nothing about the 2017 NFL. Wait. I bet that Patrick Mahomes was drafted that year. Bam!
Hey, good job, buddy. So
it's called context clues, listeners. This is very important stuff for you to learn.
This one I also watched in a bar, funny enough, with a couple friends, and it was like a draft party for our local radio station. And I got asked what I thought about the Patrick Mahomes pick. Actually, before they even made the pick, they did the trade. So first off, Pat Mahomes was not the first overall quarterback taken. Pat Mahomes actually got taken 10th.
Okay.
Which honestly, that is about equivalent if you convert that to NBA pick like percent, like basically the middle of the draft, both of them, a little bit ahead of the middle of the draft.
So just 7th is still pretty good. It's still a pretty
right.
It's 7 out of 30, but it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Yeah, 10 out of 32 and
7 out of 30. You're totally right. It's super similar.
So yeah, pretty similar positioning. Gosh, I'm gonna die.
Please don't.
Please, yeah.
Jeff, this would be it would not go well on the podcast. I have no idea how to publish this thing.
Right, and like all the editing you would have to do, and you have to look up all the passwords. It'd be rough. So, anyways, the Kansas City Chiefs were picking later on in the first round, and we traded away our next year first round pick and a third round pick to move up to 10th. And before we had actually selected our position, I was excited about one of the, there were a couple of really good cornerbacks in the draft right there. A couple good linebackers, and I was excited for us for the improvements that we were going to make on defense. Like thinking surely, like there's just somebody that was what we were doing. Because at the time we had Alex Smith, who was a serviceable. I mean, he was a Pro Bowl quarterback going into that draft, so he was
Pro Bowl's good.
Little older. Yeah. I mean, it's just the all-star game for NFL. So like, definitely okay quarterback, and like we were like shaping up to be a pretty good team that was going to like be a playoff contender. And then we picked the kid out of Texas Tech. Now, I watched one game of Mr. Patrick Mahomes' game. I watched only one game of Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech, which is Texas Tech, if you're not familiar, Nick, is out of Lubbock, Texas, which is very close to where a lot of my family, Katie's side, lives down in Texas.
Oh, nice. I did not know that.
And so they are huge Texas Tech fans, and we happened to be down there close to the end of the year back in 2016, and watched Texas Tech play Oklahoma, which ended up being one of the most ridiculous college football games of all time.
Okay.
So a lot of the problems, actually, before I dive into because I do want to like circle back around and talk about him and Steph Curry together. But before I do that, I do feel like I need to give you a little bit more of a background before we talk about his NFL career. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a clip from his college years. So here is...
He doesn't look like he's prepped to freaking to fire there, right?
We're going to talk about that. I don't want you to watch, but he notoriously does not plant his feet, and we'll talk about why and etc. But I just wanted you to watch like another few plays here.
Jeff, this is a lot of fun. He doesn't look that athletic, but that was graceful.
Yeah, I mean, it's so wild.
Is he especially fast, or does he just have good instincts?
He has incredible instincts. He's not fast at all.
Okay, because I was gonna say he doesn't look fast in these.
No,
like I've seen him get like rushing.
Look at this dime here, dude.
Oh, jeez. That's fantastic. On like a 40-yard drop right here.
Yeah.
And just sees the action happening 800 yards away.
You can pause it here.
Oh, come on. Jeff, this is great. I'm having fun, Jeff. Why would you take me away from this?
We can get back into it in a second. Okay, so Nick, I definitely cut most of that. So what is your takeaway from Mr. Mahomes at his time at Texas Tech?
Okay, so I don't know football, right? But I do know that one thing about players going from a lower level of play to a higher level is that sometimes players can toy with the weaknesses of their current level of play, and sometimes like it's easy to attribute their success to like, oh, that's the kind of thing that doesn't hold up at a higher level of competition. I have the eternal examples of Adam Morrison and JJ Redick. They were like they both had just an incredible college season in their senior years, and then both came to the NBA and were totally flawed and like could not translate that way at all. And part of it was Adam Morrison was like tall and lanky and hit mid-rangers and stuff, and it's a lot easier to do that on a shorter defender than a faster, taller, more athletic one, and yada yada, right? And after he took away like his ability to shoot over people, he just didn't have that much going for him, is my analysis of it. And I could see why people would be skeptical of a dude like prancing around, not planting, and throwing off the cuff like throws. And also, I watch this guy and I'm like, yeah, this guy is playing with. He's like, it's like he's just smarter than them all. He's just goofing around with them, and he's like, yeah, I don't have to put my feet down. Why do I have to put my feet down? I'm never pinpoint 40-foot drops.
Hold on, I've never heard anybody say that he prances around, but like that is a fantastic description. He's the most awkward runner. Like he literally does prance around until it's time to do something. I love that. Right. I'm going to steal that 1,000 times. Oh my gosh.
You know I don't have like a good like frame of reference for like what a great like NFL quarterback looks like in a lot of ways, but I feel like I've watched like Michael Vick and Donovan. Was Donovan a runner? I mean, I don't know. It's been a long time. Yes. Was he a good
he was a running quarterback. He's a running quarterback.
Yes,
yeah.
That's what I meant. Like I can picture them like just being athletic freaks breaking down defenses on the run, and I'm like, yeah, that's not what's happening here. He's just kind of like awkwardly out slithering away from them.
Yeah, Pat does that at like 30% speed.
right, exactly. I'm like, you can take full strides, right? Like you can try to run if you want to run. I mean, he's fine. He's getting a touchdown. It's fine.
So he got so he was a 3-sport athlete in college.
Okay.
He played football, baseball, and basketball. In high school. I don't think he actually played baseball I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't think he played basketball in college.
Gotcha.
He dropped out of baseball in high school. Or God Lord. This is what's like having COVID when you're trying to remember how to say sentences. Do you know his family background at all, by chance? I'm not sure how popular that is. So his dad is Pat Mahomes as well, and he was a major league pitcher for 12 years.
That's crazy.
Something like that. So Pat, growing up, played a lot of baseball, and that was a big emphasis, and a lot of his mechanics are very baseball-esque.
Okay. I can see that.
He was a very, very good pitcher. Like, he threw in the mid to high 90s as far as like his fastball as a pitcher. Also played a lot of shortstop. It also was a really good batter too. Like, he was a fantastic athlete. One of the things that you do as a shortstop though is like you make a lot of off balance throws, and like that is kind of just baked into the position. Like, you need to make, that play to second or first or whatever as fast as you can. And so whatever position you're in, you're just going to make it happen. And so that you can see that in his plays
100%.
As a football player.
100%.
That got shredded though when he was drafted. It basically was like, man, this guy's footwork is so unorthodox and terrible. There's no way that he's going to be able to attack well enough if he's not going to be, willing to throw like a normal pass. Instead, all the time, just throwing off your back foot or side arming things. Like, that was just considered to be like, there's just no way that this is ever going to work out.
That makes sense.
And so that's why he fell as far as he did. Again, a 10th round pick is still really respectable, and he had a team that traded up.
Is it 10th round pick?
Sorry, 10th overall pick.
Okay.
Of the first round.
Whoa.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he got to the NFL, lots of criticism. He sat out. He was just a backup for us for the entire first season after he got drafted, except for the very last game when we sat Alex Smith because we'd already locked up our position in the playoffs. And he did pretty good. Like, there was like a little bit of flash here and there. I'm going to show you 3 different plays. Neither one of them are definitely like definitive like examples of Pat Mahomes. But what I want you to like get from this is really the same way that Steph Curry will occasionally just get on a roll and do things that nobody else should ever do.
Take a shot attempt that like every coach ever has always said, like, if you take that shot again, you're getting pulled or something like that. But also he's hitting it 3 times in a row.
So the first thing that's funny. The first thing I'm going to show you is literally my title for my notes is, this is something that nobody else should ever try. And honestly, it's something he should never try. So when you're a quarterback, the number one way that you're going to throw an interception is if you throw back across your body, across the defense, because there's just the algebra is against you. Like, you have there's so many different lanes that people can go and intercept or break up that pass.
That makes sense.
So I'm going to show you this clip real quick, and then I will have you describe what you saw.
Okay.
Hold on just a moment. And also, Nick, I want you to know this isn't just like some podunk game. We're trying to stay in first place in the AFC in this game. And there's 1 minute and 29 seconds to go on the clock, and it is 4th down and 9 yards. If we do not complete this pass, we lost. Like, that is the end of the game. So this is the last play potentially of this game. And here you go. And we'll just start this one right from 0 whenever you're ready. Hit play in 3, 2, 1, play.
Oh, I see this. We're down 7 with 1:30. That's good.
Yeah, this game is over if we don't complete
4th
this
and 9.
pass.
4th and 9. That is just looking at it, especially after you say throwing across your body across the defense.
Never throw across your body.
That like hurt my heart to see it, because it just looks like the kind of desperation that is inevitably going to be an interception.
I have to watch the replay. Do you have it still going? It is so crazy.
Yeah, I do.
Catches eye contact, throws the ball. Like, it is. And the velocity that he puts on this thing is just unreal.
By the way, I love that. It's so cool. I love how much depth there is to details in football, because you nailed it. That he is waiting for Tyreek Hill
yeah.
To have eye contact with him, and he sees it, and it's just like one more step to gather, and that's when he throws. Like,
yep.
That's, oh my god. I think football football is really hard for me because I get bored watching it sometimes. Like, I think there's like a lot of times where it's like,
Nick, you would not be bored if you watched it with me. Like,
I know.
Every single play, I am looking for something.
It's because I don't know enough. It's the problem. You know what I mean? But also, like, I watch these clips sometimes and I'm like, oh my god, the chemistry here, like, it's like obviously that's the moment. It's so good. I love it so much. Yeah.
So this next one I want to show you, Nick, is my example of what happens when you get Pat Mahomes momentum, and and like this to me feels more like literally this is Steph Curry hitting back-to-back threes at the end of a half because he got hot for no reason other than he's Steph Curry.
Right, like it's one of those moments where it's a tie game and you're feeling good about the game, and then with 14 seconds left in the half, Steph drops 2 on you, and you're like, now hold on a second. We were feeling good a moment ago, and
also. Briefly, I will say this play was a part of our Super Bowl run that we won a freaking Super Bowl, and there's so many other plays that I could also show you. This gives me chills so much. I jumped over our couch from a standstill. I could not do that in 100 years. I am 33 years old. Like, there's no way I could do that. I jumped over the actually that was the Houston game, so I did not jump over the couch for this one. But like I still have the same like memory of just being completely overjoyed for this entire playoff run. Anyways, sorry, I got a little distracted there.
Nope.
But anyways, so we were down 10-0. We went and scored twice. They had scored one in the middle there. And we were getting ready to go into half. And we were really, like, there's 23 seconds left. We were really hoping to score a field goal. We had 2 timeouts. So really kind of like what we're trying to do now is get it to be a little bit closer. Right now it's a long field goal. And this is... Yep. This is Pat Mahomes doing his thing to get us in position for a good field goal here. Tell me when you're ready to hit play.
I am ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, play.
I do love that in the NFL it's touchdown runs, and it's like a run, not a run like that.
Yeah.
Drive is the word I'm looking for.
All we needed to do was get in field goal range. Instead, he accidentally, just runs 27 yards for a touchdown at the end of the half.
Well, I love that too because this run. Oh, I'm sorry, I stopped it before watching the replay. This run has very like. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about with this, but like old man at the YMCA vibes.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, and not in a bad way, really. Like, it's not fair to him. He doesn't look old here.
Also, he is 24 in this class.
I know. I just mean like he's not. Honestly, a better comparison would be like young, or not young, but like 30-year-old Chris Paul on the Clippers, where you're like, how does he keep getting to the rim? He's not even running. He's not even sprinting. Like, why is he getting around people? And it's like he just has instincts on where he's supposed to go. You know what I mean? Like he just understands intrinsically in a way like that we don't, that everybody else wishes they could exactly where the openings are. And a lot of guys seem to get them. A lot of guys succeed at breaking down defenses in the NBA, and I assume in the NFL as well. Just like I'm faster than you. If we're at the same spot and I want to break left, you're not going to keep up.
The instincts are just crazy. Like I don't even know how to like quantify or describe it, but like some people know what people are going to do and they can just walk past them almost. Like Pat does not run fast at any point in this entire thing. Like
that's what I mean. He's not sprinting. How do you get a 27-yard touchdown?
He just allows everybody to get out of his way. Like,
right. That's what I mean. It's like I'm not even saying he's slow. I'm saying he's not running here. Like, like maybe if he got in a sprint, he'd be fast, but it's not. That's not what's happening here.
But anyways, this last one is from last week that I want to show you, and this one is there's lots of examples of when he does this sort of thing. But to me, this is just like nobody else. Like Steph tries things that nobody else will ever try in the NBA because he's Steph Curry. Pat Mahomes does this, tries this play in a way like nobody in 1,000 years would ever try this. It is so ridiculous. Like, imagine, like to me, this is the equivalent of Steph Curry trying a random, like just for no reason, does like a spin around step back 3 uncovered for no reason. That's actually not fair, but. And again, this is the most recent week. So just a random play from last week.
I love the defender just looks annoyed. I was like, what the damn it.
Like literally watch the replay on this, Nick, because like what kind of throwing motion is that? Like literally like lays it up, I guess.
Well,
like I don't even
the answer is just like just touch, right? It's just instinctual touch of like, I gotta get this out of my hand like right now.
Whoop. Just
Yep.
And I mean, like there's other plays too where he's
really
thrown it with his offhand because he's getting tackled, and like that made more sense. Like
He's thrown it with his offhand.
Okay, I'll have to show you that now too.
Excuse you.
Hold on.
Hey Jeff, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I am pretty sure you're not supposed to throw the ball with your offhand. I've been led to believe.
I have to show you now.
Most people throw better with their dominant hand, as I understand it.
And so this is Pat getting sacked, for sure, and just deciding that he's not okay with that. Are you ready?
Says, I don't get sacked. Yeah, on 3.
3, 2, 1, go.
Come on, man! I mean, I know it's just a flip, but like, come on, man! That's so cool! That's so sick!
Like, he just does things that nobody else tries to do. It is so unreal. And so I guess to wrap all of my points with a bow, because actually, let me pull up my notes. Maybe I have more than I can think here. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, I guess there is a whole other thing about momentum that we could probably get into, just like how there's certain times where you watch Steph Curry and you just know he's not going to miss. Just in the same way that Pat gets in certain modes where you're like, well, they doesn't matter anything that's going to happen. They are going to score a touchdown on this drive. And they both do it in ways that nobody else in the entire league that they're in are going to even attempt, let alone be able to achieve. And I'm going to look. I mean, Steph is going to retire before Pat, God willing. No offense, but like
nope.
They're 10 years difference or whatever. But like we're gonna look back at Steph's career. And like there are some really, really unique things that he did to the game, and those have ripple effects across the entire NBA, all of the college teams out there, all of the people in high school games just jacking up threes.
Yeah.
Pat has done the same sort of thing. Heck, not even talking about the football side of it, but like there are people with his stupid haircut across the entire United States. Like
right.
the impact that he has had. But like he does it, and they both, to me, feel like they get into a groove and just have a lot of fun. They both chew their mouthpieces like psychopaths. I don't know. They're both.
I just want our listeners to know that when the Warriors were playing the Thunder, that Jeff once texted me that Steph Curry chews his mouthpiece like a jerk, and then you later retracted that. But I was like, I didn't know that one like could do that. But I do understand how it would be very infuriating if you were on the side of it, because I've watched Steph Curry win basically every game against the Lakers that he could possibly win. I think he's probably 42 and -1 is what I'm assuming his career record is against the Lakers.
Won 42 games, and then the Lakers lost 1.
they did lose 1 extra. They lost 43 somehow. So, I'm completely with you though. It seems transcendent in more than just the sports side. And so one thing I really like, and I assume that this is true of Mr. Mahomes based off of these, is like one thing I really like about Steph is I think sometimes we're like a little rigid with sports. Like you learn to drill things, you learn to go to practice, and like you have coaches all your life telling you over your shoulder what you're supposed to do. And I think that like sometimes people don't get that like sports are free flowing. Like they're not like they're not gonna stay in this perfectly drawn up cookie cutter scenario. And like there's something like really fun and entertaining about people who have like improvisational skills. Can I hit you with the silliest Steph move? It's not the best Steph shot, I think, but
yes, please do.
You've probably seen this one. There's no special context to it, but yeah. On 3, 2, 1, play.
I mean, that's literally, that feels to me, that is the basketball equivalent of the thing that I just showed you, the last Pat Mahomes highlight. Like, yeah. Like just randomly getting, away from people, and they're like, oh, just let me just jack up this score right here. No big deal. Because I can.
Reaction here.
I loved his face right at the end too. Like,
yeah, he's smiling still. He's like, okay, I guess so.
I guess that's what.
That's he said that his the best thing he ever did coaching was or his best coaching job. I can't remember the exact joke, but he said like that the reason that people think he's a good coach is because he coaches Steph Curry. It's like you just let him do that.
Freaking just like also I will say the other comparison I would say Andy Reid, the Chiefs head coach, and Steve Kerr, like, oh my gosh. Like, you could not ask for better coaches for a generational creative talent. Totally. It's just like, you know what? Sometimes they're just going to do things that don't make sense, but that's why we picked them. Like,
right.
That's why we built our team around them.
That's great. We like that.
They actively will occasionally do things that I would tell them not to do, and that is a feature, not a bug.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. So okay, real quick. So I think that in this clip, it is a very quick clip before he gets the shot up, but the conventional thing you would get drilled into your head if you were like being if you were being coached, if you could be coached through every step of this play, is like the moment you catch the ball before you've dribbled, you should realize that there's 4 guys in front of you and around you. You should pull back. And then after the first dribble, you should say, I can't go into the teeth here. There's 4 guys around me. And instead he goes deeper and he just like plays around with the ball and it just goes deeper. And then he steps back into like a jump stop with his feet not square to the hoop at all. Like you can see his shoulder is like.
I just watched it again. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not square to the hoop. You're not supposed to shoot step backs with your feet sideways to the hoop.
It's bad mechanics, but what does it matter?
It doesn't matter if you can square up in the air and you just happen to be Stephen Curry and not care that you're fading away from 27 feet or whatever.
No, but like Nick, this is exactly the thing.
Yeah.
Like, they do things that are things we're never, like, nobody's ever going to do it the way they did it.
Right.
They're unique, just in the same way that Larry Bird had just a weird way of making plays happen that nobody else is ever going to exactly emulate. Like, they are a player that they're doing things before our eyes that we'll never see again the way that we're seeing it.
Yep.
And that should not be taken for granted. I don't know.
Completely agree. And I love that they're improvisational and that they've brought like just from what I know of Mahomes, at least they've brought like that like fun instinctual outside of the norms and the bounds of like what you're taught energy and play style. Like it's freaking good, man.
Oh yeah, he definitely brings some big this is not how you should do it energy. We didn't even get into like how popular he's made the no look pass and stuff like that, which is not you should never not look at the person you're throwing to, but he I
was gonna say that doesn't sound like a good move, right? Like
not in the NFL, especially like it's not like the NBA where you're throwing it like 20 feet, like you're talking like, oh, let me just casually throw it 90 feet down the field, no look.
My god, that's really good.
Anyways, so yeah, that I don't know. Just enjoy the people that we have while we have them, especially the people that are unique talents like Steph Curry and Mr. Patrick Mahomes. Man, I love watching them both. I'm gonna miss Steph and I'm gonna miss Pat here in 100 years when he retires or whatever. But
probably 100
in the meantime, it's good stuff. It
is. I know this is a very self-indulgent topic, but I really enjoyed it because.
Very self-indulgent.
So for our non-sports sports fan listeners, I'm sorry, but hopefully you can apply this to like whatever you follow, because I think that there is like truth to this and all kinds of stuff. Like, I don't want to go into this, but like I have like as silly as it is, like Jeff and I used to both play and follow competitive League of Legends a long time ago, which is one of the first big esports that popped off, and I haven't followed it in a long time. But I can tell you that like instantly as we were talking about this stuff, I had a comparison in mind there, and in terms of like the fun, not conventional way of playing, and I don't know, man, I just love it. I think that you could probably find parallels to this in other fields and applications and stuff too. So yeah,
1,000% agree.
Yeah.
All right, Nicholas. This is a wrap. We did it. We made it through. On the off weeks that we do this podcast, we do another podcast called The Year We Started Another Podcast. It's on patreon.com/TiWasApp. Go check it out. There you go.
You can also follow us at TylerSap on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And you can find all of that at tylersap.com.
Man, Nick, that was very unimprovised, but you know what? It's the best we can ask for from you.
Well, I will say that the Patreon podcast is the improvised one. That's a little more off the cuff.
Okay.
In here, I'm very professional. I'm very buttoned up. You know me.
All right. Well, we'll stay on script then and call this a wrap. Thank you so much, Nick, for potting with me.
You are welcome, sir. Thank you all so much for listening.